Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project, another copyrighted edition for our video channel. And yes, this is a missing persons video. So hold on to your hats. It's going to be a good one. And we're going to get into a lot of unusual things in these cases that you probably haven't heard from many of the cases I've talked about in the past. That's a fact. So, movie coming out December 13th. Cover it one more time. Missing 411, the UFO Connection. Watch the trailer on our site. Go to Can-Am Missing YouTube. That's what you Google. Can-Am Missing /YouTube. Go there. Click on the videos once you come to our site. You'll see a bunch of words. Click on the videos. That'll give you all the videos. You can scroll down and see the trailer. And you can also watch our movies, Missing 411 and Missing 411 The Hunted, for free. Just Google it. They're on almost every site for free. What can you... Can't beat that. If you really want to be generous, you go to Amazon, you pay like $2 and you own it. So, that's another good thing. A couple things. In the last week and a half, I've had a lot of strange things fall into my lap. Before I did the video of my movie, where I interviewed people who participated in the movie and that were in the audience, and I did the video of the Navajo Rangers, I went into the auditorium and I had contracted with a person in Phoenix to record the interviews and do some lav mics and do it so all the sound was good. And I never met the man before. I met him. We started talking. And some people believe that we're on a predestined path in life and there's really not much we can do. Meaning that your path has already been identified, you're going to walk this, you're going to meet this person, that person, and you're going to do these things in life. And according to statistics, you're going to have 3 different careers during your normal lifetime. I've had that. Guaranteed. So, I go into the auditorium, and I start talking. And he's asking me questions about the research, and he's anxious to see the movie, and he kind of wanted to know the path I took and how I got to where I am. And I explained to him about Ben. And I've gotten better with time talking about Ben and him taking his life. But I could not hold it together when he told me that he had lost his son a couple years before as well to suicide. Couldn't hold it together. He's a good soul. But to think that we're standing alone inside of a movie theater where in the next hour I'm going to premiere a movie about missing people. And the only reason I was standing there was because of Ben. And here I meet somebody who lost his son to suicide at about the same age, at about the same time. What are the chances? We sat there and we talked for a while. And we talked about the life path we're on. And if that was something that was supposed to happen in my life, I was supposed to meet this man, and it was supposed to predestined me for something. I don't know what it was. It was a painful moment for me because I could see the pain in his eye about his loss. But one thing it reinforces to me is that mental health in our world is a #1 item. Ben took his life in the middle of COVID. This man's son did the same thing. When I was in LA, I was told it's an epidemic of suicides. And I am convinced 100% our government knows about this. They know. They know what those lockdowns are doing. They know what masking up people did to our younger generation. It made them depressed. That was one of the side effects. They couldn't be around their friends. They couldn't be normal kids socializing in school, having fun. It put them behind in life. And then you look at the test scores in our schools, how all the test scores are way down, proving that online schooling is garbage. They need to be in school. So, that moment, just before I aired the film, I know I need to keep talking about mental health. It's my own mental health. I told you before, everybody that has a loved one that took their life has these waves of depression that come over them. You can't do anything about it. I know I can't. I can't escape it. I try. I can't. And other people I've talked to, same thing. It's debilitating at times. And I hope that the people out there that are going through a mental health crisis find help. Go to a NAMI class. Get into a NAMI, N-A-M-I class. I know that there aren't enough psychiatrists, there aren't enough psychologists, there isn't enough mental health services for everyone that needs it. I mean, heck, everybody in the streets right now probably needs it. I was just watching the news the other day. I couldn't believe this. Mexico sent a film crew to Philadelphia to film the streets of Philly and the homelessness, the drug overdoses, the bodies laying in the street, the deprivation of society. They said this is what's caused by using drugs. That's what Mexico's saying. They're showing our streets. That's what our world has come to. And where's the help for those people? Where's the assistance? Where's the understanding and the empathy? Really, where is it? Well, it's in $1 billion of aid going to Ukraine. $1 billion of aid going flying around the world. Why isn't it helping us? Why aren't they doing something to make America strong instead of other countries strong? I'm sorry, I got on a tirade there. Okay, first letter. I don't know if you'll read this, but you touched my heart. I'm bipolar. I'm 58. I take meds. I use the suicide hotline when I need to. I call 911 on myself if I get suicidal and I can't work through it. It's horrible illness. I know. It's freaking unbelievably horrible. But years ago when I was diagnosed in 2000, I asked Jesus, what if he wouldn't take my bipolar? That if he wouldn't take my bipolar and OCD away from me, that he allow me to use it to glorify him. I'm now a passionate advocate of removing the stigma. I'm very vocal about the things you mentioned. We do need to write about mental health on the front page. I see your tears. I need to keep advocating like you did in this video. I've been very loud on Facebook in my advocacy. I don't know you, but your tears reminded me to keep being loud about mental health. I'd write more, but I'm not sure you'll even see this. But I've watched this about your son. I'm so very sorry for your loss. Now take that loss and shout from the rooftop everything you said in this world about this video. You will save lives. Thank you for your love. I see your tears. Thanks. I'm very sorry that you're going through this. I wish I had the magical statement or some cure, something uplifting that I could somehow make things better, at least for a few hours. Bipolarism is a hell zone. And I know it. And you know it. Next letter. Steve Lane. This is, hey Dave, my name is Steve. I'm from Dubuque, Iowa, and watch everything you put out. I'm fascinated with your work. I think you do a great job. Despite all the roadblocks you tend to run into investigating some of the things you investigate, I share your work with anyone and everyone who will listen. I share on my social media. Thank you. Trying to get the word out, I think what you do is a great service to the families and the victims of strange events. I do want to say I'm sorry about what you went through with your son Ben. I know exactly what you're going through in a couple of months. It will be the year anniversary of my daughter's suicide. She left behind 3 young boys. You're probably wondering why I sent this. And I just want to thank you for what you do. It gives me hope in my bad days, when I don't know how to push on. You're truly an inspiration in your strength. So I just want to say thank you and let you know that you're helping other people. Just by getting through your day, going on, doing what you do, shows me that I have to do the same. As you know, this is not an easy thing, losing a child. It's a lifelong battle that we have to live every day. And it's not easy. So again, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Give my condolences to your wife, and God bless you and your family. So Steve, let me say, you've got motivation every day in those 3 boys. Steve, you were given those 3 boys. It's a gift. You're a good soul. You know how to raise kids the right way. You've got to do it. Your loss of your daughter is huge, but their loss of their mom is just as huge. Those boys didn't deserve that. Neither do you. But those boys have to have a mentor. Those boys have to have enduring love. Statistics show that they're much more suicidal than anyone because their mom committed suicide. You've got to break that mode for them. You've got to be that example of strength and dignity and honor and integrity. So many of us out there have lost someone that means so much. Your job is enormous. But there's motivation in that. And you lost a daughter, but you gained 3 sons. And that's the way you've got to look at it. Those boys don't have anybody. They have you. But they were given to you for a reason. Find hope in those lives. Everybody here needs to pray for you, Steve. Next letter. Hey Dave, I'm watching your YouTube channel tonight regarding the premiere of your movie. I've been researching UFOs and missing, etc. for many years. Since I was a child, and the missing since I found you. After hearing your talk about the woman who attended your premiere who lost her husband in British Columbia, I was floored by a thought that really disturbed me. With all these people going missing and only one private person, you, looking into all the losses, I wondered what the hell was our government doing? Is not thousands of people going missing under strange, bizarre, and unique circumstances within the U.S. a threat to national security? With some of the missing being military and former military, without a trace they leave us, and the government sits on its butt and does little or nothing? No, they do something. They obstruct me at every obstacle, every opportunity they can to make sure I don't get the facts. Yeah, they do something. That are quick to take a hard-earned money to spend on insane forays into third world countries and to start wars to obtain natural resources and to put fear into our lives for no good reason. Yes, yet they take a back seat and allow you, the only caring person who took it upon himself to look into what should have been doing long ago. And it should be taking the lead. We have been lied to about everything. The narrative is a lie perpetrated to serve the interests of the so-called elite, who have used our tax dollars to deceive us on every topic from space, UFOs, our history, civilization, science, education, archaeology, etc. We are adults and need no softening of the blow. What is going on? Is that the elite are scared poopless about how the masses will respond to it when the truth is out there against the crimes of humanity. And we see the true, sad abomination that they have created and left in their wake due to their arrogance, ego, and error, etc. They know who's taking these people, and my guess is that it is humans, yes, humans, who have access to exotic technologies like invisibility, the triangle craft, such as they abduct people and trade them with ETs in exchange for more exotic technology to defraud us and use our DNA for barter with nefarious ETs. This is a sick game by sick sociopaths and psychopaths who care not about you or me, but only about controlling the world like mad scientists, denying humanity its divine right to knowledge they have harbored to our detriment. To me, it makes perfect sense that human beings would be behind taking humans and trading them for greed. After all, we set off 2 nuclear bombs against humans. We, humanity, are going through an ascension process where our consciousness is expanding and truths are being exposed. We can handle anything that will be thrown at us. It is the throwers who cannot handle letting the truth out, as they lose everything in the process. Truth, simplicity, and love will be the path of humanity once we get beyond the insanity that has us living upside down at the moment. We must all meditate on a unified humanity where no person is left behind. The planet was put here for all of humanity to share equally, not to set up classes of people who control others by material possessions. This was done by humans wanting to control humans. God did not intend this, but it is for us to create a just world. Namaste to all. Namaste. You like to think the world isn't like that, and I hope it isn't that bad. But I know there's a lot of problems right now we have. We got to stay upbeat. We got to stay positive. We got to pray. We got to pray because it's good versus evil. And there's a lot of evil in the world right now. But you know what? We are good people. We help each other. We care about each other. But you know what? Sometimes you have to fight. And I don't mean with your fists. I don't mean with guns. I don't mean with violence. You gotta fight. Next letter. Hey Dave, I'm a 53-year-old black man. Not that it matters to you. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and discovered your channel while trying to cope with my health situation. In late December 2019, myself and a friend were out on my porch having a smoke when we noticed 3 bright white lights moving in a strange pattern around a cloud that was darker and different than other clouds. The best way to describe their movements were similar to 3 cowboys on horseback herding cattle. That's a pretty good description right there. The lights seemed to move this strange cloud in opposite direction from the rest of the clouds. Anyway, our area was struck really hard by COVID. I'm no scientist, but I smell a rat. Sorry for the long email. I'm all on my phone. I'll be glad to answer your questions. The first question is, where did it happen? But the description of 3 cowboys on horseback herding cattle, it's really good because I've seen a lot of things, and that's a pretty good description. So this was a strange email. And for the people who have watched Skinwalker Ranch, 1.6 frequency should ring a bell with you. Dave, I recently got software to listen to the 1.6 frequency. Almost instantly picked up the signal. To be honest, all hell broke loose. First thing to happen was my computer would freeze, or it would come up on screen, "You're locked out." I would have to completely turn it off and start again. I was picking this signal up for 2 weeks, then it stopped. Here's what I found. 1, I was being followed by some being. In my car, the radio was acting really weird, changing channels, switching off and on for no reason. 2, the first time I switched to the 1.6 signal, there was someone or something sitting next to me. 3, balls of light were appearing in my bedroom, maybe 20 at the same time at 3 in the morning. What are you doing up at 3 in the morning? They were white in color with short white beams in the shape of a cross, totally amazing. Dark shadow begins walking across my house, demonic looking. My dad and my sister were ill and both ended up in the hospital for a week. I don't really know if they were attacked or not. Can't rule it out. 6, I made contact with the being. This is what happened. I asked a series of questions. 1, are you a god? Answer, no. You have godlike powers? Answer, yes. Are you a demigod then? Yes. Are you evil? No. Are you similar to humans in the way they act, good and bad? Yes. That's all I asked. I did not want to push him on any other questions. I thanked him and left it there. Thanks for your time, Dave. All the best to you and your family. See, I'm greedy. I would have kept asking questions. I would have said, hey, are you demonic? Do you take orders from the devil? Are you the devil? Are you the devil reincarnated? Are you pretending to be the devil? There's a million questions I would have asked, but it's pretty good. Appreciate it. Next letter. Hey Dave, thank you for your dedication to this topic. I hope you're having a good day today. I have a hypothesis. I have nothing to back it up except connecting dots. I recently heard some information about Tesla's experiments that made me think, could the government be experimenting with time travel? They took all of his notes when he died. It's a bit wild, but I'd like to hear what you think. I definitely think they are. I think our government has hands in so many things that would make our heads spin. And the best example is the Defense Intelligence Agency being at Skinwalker Ranch for 2 years. Whoever thought that could have been true? Well, that is true. It's confirmed to be true. And that is the one entity, the Defense Intelligence Agency, that has tied my research to that ranch. Nothing else has ever been tied to that ranch research-wise, other than me. And George Knapp said it on Coast to Coast, and it was later validated by the Defense Intelligence Agency representative. And that is in Missing 411, the UFO Connection, the first 5 minutes. Onward. The information I recently heard indicates that Tesla's time travel happened with a sort of portal, which you have discussed before. Time travel has been a subject of experimentation by physicists for as long as physicists existed. Why do I think this could be what is happening? The fact that many of the people who are found days later in an area already searched with no obvious sign of harm, and often in water and then cause of death is drowning, could be used as a cover-up. Of course. The people who are found alive, I notice are mostly children, or incoherent, or unable to speak about what happened. Maybe the smaller size of the child is better for returning safely after the time travel. And also, the UFO factor, which I also attribute to the government, is as much as space aliens could be the part of the technology. So, gotta hang with me here. Many times, in dozens of videos, I've explained that people have been found that appear to have fallen. And I've stated hundreds of times that when I'm in the mountains and I'm walking in a cliffy area, a mountainous area, I'm much more careful when I'm alone than when I'm with people. Much more careful. And I think most hikers, climbers are that way. And many of the times, the people I've written about are found after they've fallen to their deaths. But they've fallen in areas that don't make sense. fact. Even search and rescue people have made comments about. That fall doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Well, what if it wasn't a natural fall? What if something else was at stake? I took a bold leap on this several years ago by saying it doesn't make sense. Well, in my movie, one of the points we address is exactly this. And the answers are going to stun the heck out of the world. Maybe the smaller size of the child is better for returning safely after the time travel. That could be. Also, the UFO factor, which I also attribute to the government as much as space aliens, could be part of the technology. Why this would not account for all the cases, I think there is some merit in this hypothesis. Maybe others could contribute more info. I tried to keep this brief. I'm looking forward to your new movie. I'm in Australia and usually watch your YouTube videos during my insomniac moments. Give Huck a belly rub for me. We used to have a Maremma, M-A-R-E-M-M-A, Maremma, which is a similar breed of dog, guarding dog, but smaller than a Pyrenees. Well, thanks for writing. I think it's an interesting hypothesis. I've talked blatantly about it many times in the past, so I get it, and all of it's possible in my mind. First of all, I've stated in many of the videos that I have met physicists, one specifically that was a contract physicist for NASA, that said that they were working on portals and how to weaponize them and how to use them. And he told me flat out, Dave, we're way past if portals are real. We're trying to understand how we can use them. Bingo. So get it past, get it out of your mind that portals aren't real. They are. And you might hear people bad-mouthing the heck out of me because I said that. I didn't say it. A physicist for NASA said it. John Brandenburg. End of the story. Next story. Dave, you should do a show about Dyatlov Pass incident about missing hikers found mutilated in Russia in '59. One of the hikers was found with their tongue cut out and also radiation burns on one of the bodies. I forgot to write this in my previous email. Thanks. First of all, it doesn't match our profile. Sorry, it doesn't. Number two, trying to get credible answers out of Russia is like next to impossible. Some Russian people will say anything if you give them enough money. This is a fact. I know because I've dealt with many people that have worked lengthy times in Russia. So when you watch a show, and maybe it's a Russian military official that's retired, or it's an archive administrator from a library or something, and they say something that's totally stunning, I put zero credibility in it. And I'm sorry, but that's just the facts. Now with Dyatlov Pass, several of the big cable shows have done stories about them. And one show is like 180 degrees from the other about the facts. One show says that a tribe of people that lived in the area might have killed them. Another show says another person died of radiation poisoning. Other people said someone's tongue was cut out. Another show says that animals ate the tongue out of the mouth. I mean, it goes on and on. What are you going to do? How can you do an investigation on that when there's no credible witnesses? Most people are dead. Unless you could get your actual hands on the original reports, forget it. And then you'd have to have somebody that you could trust 1,000% to say that either those reports are true or not, just by looking at them and knowing by the age. But Dyatlov Pass, something weird happened there. Let's face that. But it's not a 411 case. And I have no idea what did happen there. I'm as confused as everybody because I watch everything I can and I've read a lot of books about it. So I'm sorry, but I wouldn't waste my time on it. But those were our letters for today. And thanks everyone for writing. I got a nasty gram the other day. I kind of laughed. They said, Dave, that triangle UFO on your movie poster, you know, why are you continuing to push the agenda that some alien craft and aliens are taking people? Wake up, idiot. Dave has never said that was an alien craft taking people. Now that's between just us and the villagers. But all of the rest of the fools out there that want to say I said something, no, I never said that. I never implied that. You want to believe that? Congratulations. You just made a fool of yourself. So, let's get to the missing persons cases. There's 2 of them today. They're pretty stunning. First case, very recent. A woman named Laura Macke, M-A-C-K-E, 35 years old. She went missing November 1st of this year, of this month, 2022. She was hiking in Olympic National Park. And she was a mental health counselor from Burlington, Vermont. Now, in the past, I've stated that it's almost important to me where somebody was from as much as it is where they got lost. Burlington has a cluster of missing people there. It is a very strange city. And the disappearances there are very strange. So keep that in the back of your mind. She was a clinical psychologist at a master's degree, and her work profile stated that she specialized in people with bipolar, people with addictions, individuals that had processing trauma issues, mood disorders, and she'd been in practice of counseling in almost 8 years. She loved the outdoors, and she traveled cross country and went to Olympic, got a backcountry permit to hike the Lake Quinault, Graves Creek, and in the Enchanted Valley area. And the permit was to cover October 30th, October 31st, be out November 1st. Well, when she didn't come out, her family called the National Park Service, said that our child was missing, and on November 3rd, search and rescue started at the National Park Service. First of all, this is Olympic National Park, kind of the dark green area through here. This is Lake Quinault Lodge. Beautiful, beautiful place. And she was going to hike up through here to Graves Creek, up through the Enchanted Valley here. Beautiful hike. Very thick, very lush. So, missing people here, missing people here, missing people here, and missing people actually here as well. This Olympic area is some mighty big mountains, is absolutely gorgeous. If you land at SeaTac International Airport in Seattle and you look west, you'll see these. They're gorgeous. If you ever get a chance, go to Olympic National Park. There aren't a lot of things to see, meaning attractions, but the park itself is pristinely gorgeous. Now, when Laura, this is Laura. When Laura took off, she told everyone the right thing, where she was going, when she'd be out, to call the park service if there was a problem. She had backpack, tent. She had all the things you need for a 3 or 4 day backpack into the wilderness. Well, the National Park Service went at it pretty hard. They called in 12 agencies. They called her cell phone provider, and they couldn't get any hits on her cell phone. They had drones that had FLIR. They had a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter with FLIR. They had multiple canine teams, boats, and dozens of ground pounders, meaning people on the ground. 8 days in that area, and they found exactly nothing. Now, this is a cluster of missing people right here. I didn't put all the missing people in, but Olympic National Park is a cluster. Some of the strangest disappearances, bar none, I've ever written about. Now, she was hiking along water, a creek, a river, and a lake. She was in a cluster. She was in a national park, and canines never picked up her scent. So what happened to Laura? That's a very good question. But how many times do I have to ask that question of you before answers start to come forth? Frustrating. Now, Laura's parents, relatives, probably know nothing about what we're talking about. And I feel sorry for them. Because Laura's life might have been saved, if she had a personal locator beacon. Again, everyone who hikes solo must have that in my mind. If you have a friend or relative out there that hikes alone, hunts, fishes, holidays are coming up, the best gift you can get them is a personal locator beacon. You don't need my recommendation. Just go to Amazon and look and read the reviews. You do not need one that costs a monthly fee. You just need to get one for your loved one that does this. And people say, well, Dave, how do you know it's going to work? You go to their website for the beacon that you're interested about, and there are thousands of stories about how many people they've saved. It's bar none one of the greatest tools for the outdoors that is so sorely not advertised enough. Makes me mad. Okay, the next case, also very, very current. Let me give you a little background on the location before I get into the specifics. It's the first case I've ever chronicled out of Chile. Now, Chile has a population of about 19.2 million people. And it's slightly smaller than if you doubled the area size of Montana. That's how big the country is. Pretty good size. There's a lot of areas of Chile where there are hundreds of thousands of acres where there's nobody. The location we're going to talk to you about today is called the Atacama Desert. It's one of the driest locations in the entire world. Some people say it is the driest location in the world. It's known as the best place for stargazing because it's so dry, and there's no artificial light because there's no cities out there. The desert has a unique property of having the largest supply of sodium nitrate explosive in the world. And geologists have said that the soil is very similar to what you'd find on Mars. The desert is 128,000 square kilometers. And many years ago, they found the oldest artificially mummified body ever found in that desert. Now, one of the most unique things when I was doing background on the story is that the location we're going to talk to you about is right on the fringe of this desert, partially in, partially out. The thing I found I'd never even heard about before. Most people have heard about the Nazca lines in Peru, big lines in the desert floor. They're big diagrams of animals and things. Well, there's something called the Atacama Giant. This is it. It's 390 feet tall. It's on a hillside. Historians say it's probably an astronomical guide. And it was made between 500 AD and 1500 AD. There's 5,000 geoglyphs in this area as well. Now look at this real carefully. What does that look like to you? I don't want to say anything because I don't want to have any effect on what you may think. But that's on the desert floor in the Atacama Desert. 390 feet, it's a little longer than 1.3 football fields in length. It's quite something to see, I'd have to admit it. So, that's the Atacama. Now, right on the fringe, partially in and partially out, is something called the La Silla Observatory. It sits at an altitude of 2,400 meters. It's about 600 kilometers north of Santiago, Chile. And it's known as one of the largest telescopes and facilities in the Southern Hemisphere. It was established in 1964. Give you a look at what a La Silla Observatory looks like and the facilities around it. It has 3 optical and infrared telescopes plus 14 optical only scopes. It's owned and operated by the European Southern Observatory, and they host many visiting professors from around the world. And it's such a great place because it's so dry and there's no artificial light in the area. The observatory is almost exactly 30 air miles from the ocean. Another picture of it, kind of get an idea. So the story is about a man named Dr. Thomas Marsh, 61-year-old astrophysicist. He was a professor at Warwick University in the UK, and he was the founding member of their astronomy and astrophysics group. He had visited La Silla many times in his 40-year career. He was considered an expert in the evolution of binary stars. This is Dr. Marsh. A binary star is a system of 2 stars that are gravitationally bound and in orbit around each other. And to the naked eye, they're just seen as one star. He was an expert, like I said, in evolutionary or correct binary stars. In 2018, he received the Herschel Medal from UK's Royal Astronomical Society, a huge accolade that he never really talked about. He had a PhD from Cambridge University. He was married, had children. And on September 14th of this year, 2022, Professor Marsh traveled from the UK with a first-year graduate student that was mentoring with him. And they traveled to La Silla, and they were going to stay for 4 days. That was on September 14th. On September 15th, they went to the observatory, worked all through the night, as all the professors and people did. And on early morning on the 16th at 6 a.m., he was last seen walking to his room on the facility. And he was last seen by the PhD student. Let's cover where this area was. So, Chile, this is the border of Chile right here. It's a long, narrow country. Here's Santiago. And here's La Silla. So, a couple days go by. Nobody's seen Professor Marsh. So this first-year student goes to the authorities and said, he's staying right next to me, but I haven't heard him in his room, and I haven't seen anything. And another person reported finding Professor Marsh's key to his room in the middle of the road from where he was at the telescope back to his room. Well, authorities entered his room. They found his passport there. They found all of his clothes. And they called the local police, the Carboneros, and the military also responded. Now, friends, this is a desert landscape. There are no trees. There's no place to hide. It's wide open desert. So the military initially used helicopters and drones. Very logical. No place to hide. Fly the territory. And initially, they should start looking in that 2 to 3 mile radius from where he was last seen. That would be the normal search zone. There's no way to get out of this area because he didn't have a car. And they knew he was in the area somewhere. Well, the PhD student that was last to see him was questioned extensively by the police and cleared. And in fact, there were many comments that said that he helped look for the professor for many weeks. But during questioning, and in a paper in Chile, not in the US, not in England, but it was reported that the student told authorities that right before the professor disappeared, he told the student something super strange. And he then rebuked the student. This is the wording. He rebuked the student for insufficient commitment to the profession. What the heck does that mean? I know what it means. You put down the student for not wanting to do whatever he wanted to do. I don't know. But then after that, he disappeared. So there was a 2-week nonstop search. They found nothing. It was at about that time that Professor Marsh's wife landed in Chile, realized nobody was hunting for her husband, and went to the local community asking for help and to engage in a search. There were many searches, off and on, by private and public people looking for the professor. And again, let's go back to one of these photos here. I want you to look at the landscape. The landscape. There's nothing to hide in. Flying at 1,000 feet, a body would show up hugely in these areas. So they're trying to find him. Wife's there. The government buckles and says, okay, we'll do another search. November 10th, they'd start another search. 2 miles from the observatory, in heavy rocks, they find Professor Marsh's body. And they also found his clothes nearby. He was described as being naked from the waist up. The coroner has refused to release the cause of death as of right now. I haven't found it. He was missing for 55 days. Now let's think about this. Professor Marsh had been to this facility many times. He knew the area very well. Do you think he's going to walk 2 miles into this middle of this desert, into a big rock outcropping? Doesn't seem so. Do you think he'd start stripping naked in the middle of the desert? Doesn't seem quite right. Do you think he'd drop his key in the middle of the road? He was a very conscientious man. Doesn't make sense. So, why am I talking about this case now? I've never said it was a 411 case, but we're on the verge. It's pretty suspicious at this point. But without a cause of death, I'll say this. He was found in a very rugged area off the beaten path in around a huge boulder field. Just like a 411 case. Missing clothing, 411 case. Absent a bullet in his head or in his body, meaning it was homicide, what else could be the cause of death? The insinuation is he couldn't have been lost because he knew the area. So why didn't aircraft find him? Why would he even go to that area exhausted? Think about this. He just spent all night working with his student on a telescope. They're tired. They're exhausted. Oh, he's just going to go on a hike in the middle of the desert? Look at my face. Do I look that gullible? Are you that gullible? website called newsbeat.com, November 10th of this year. They called the case highly mysterious. They stated that all the employees were in that area around those telescopes, very remote. Another website called ESO.org, January 23rd, 1992. From a location from Santiago to Copiapó, they described a luminous cloud moved north, suddenly grew like a mushroom in a UFO. This would have been right in this area of Chile. And then on August 24th of this year, on phys.org, they described a rare red sprites were seen from the Lucilla Observatory. They're described as bright red streaks coming from the ground and going up into the air. They were described as electrical discharges. Well, there's also areas very near here that are described by various people associated with Chile of having unusual energy. About 40 miles south of Lucilla, there's a couple canyons in there. And they were described as hippie-type people that live there that love the unusual energy and the UFOs that are seen there on a regular basis. Wow. So what happened to Professor Marsh? So you know how many physicists I've written about over the years that have disappeared without a trace. Well, Professor Marsh was one of the rare ones that has been found. Does his body show any indication that he fell? That'd be number one. Number two, did he die from a heat stroke? Did he die from exposure? Did he die from lack of food and water? All things that I'm interested in for someone in these conditions. The student could tell us when was the last time Professor Marsh ate. What was in Professor Marsh's stomach when they found him? Because, let's just say, he survived for 2 days. There'd be nothing in his stomach because he hadn't had anything to eat. But if he died within hours after he was last seen by the student, stomach would still have food in it. So the time of death could be determined by what's in the stomach. Lots of unknowns here. I'm sure Chile knows the entire world is watching this case. And they know that their toes are on the fire. So they're being very cautious to probably do an ultra thorough job on the autopsy. Personally, like I said, on this case, unless there's a bullet, unless he's beat to a pulp, but even under those circumstances, I'd like to know how he got into the area he was in that far from everywhere. 2 miles in that desert, especially in the rocky area that was described he was found in, doesn't sound like an area you and I are going to casually walk into. Sounds like a case I've talked about hundreds of times from other people who disappeared and found in areas previously searched. That 2 mile radius would have been that primary search zone. So why didn't they find him? I feel very sorry for his family. I feel sorry for the country of England because they lost a great scientist. And lastly, obviously, I'd really, really like to know what he told his grad student that was described as super strange. Did he ask the grad student to take a hike in the middle of the desert with him? And why? If he did. Did he know something was going to happen? Had he been there so many times before that he could predict certain occurrences? Something's up. We may never know, because maybe that grad student wants to make a career as an astrophysicist, and he was said, hey, you mumble anything about what happened and you're never going to have a job in this world. And we may never know. In the meantime, Laura Macke, 35 years old, missing. Olympic National Park, November 1st, 2022, not found. Search is over. Carrying a big backpack with a lot of things. Doesn't make any sense. Dr. Thomas Marsh, 61 years old, astrophysicist, Warwick University. Brilliant man. Won some of the most prestigious honors in the country. Disappears for 55 days in the Atacama Desert of Chile. Please post this on your social media. Get it around. Let people see it. Thanks for being here. Paulides out.